Warning: this video is not suited for everyone. We Like to Party by Vengaboys will be played over and over to an unhealthy degree. Also, watch the previous brief history video before this, as there are many references to it. What else can I say in this voice? How about, no, I am your father. Ha, I've always wanted to say that. Alright, enjoy the next couple minutes of your life that could be spent doing something else.
The hour away and take it away solo. So you all put your hands together. We're trying to help us shoot on Mr. Six. We're going to change the song. Mr. Six. Take it away.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
Just like in the last brief history, we are once again beginning in the good old 70s and 80s. Whenever you look up a commercial from this time on YouTube, or any other website, they tend to have a theme song.
Get your skis shined up, grab a stick of juicy fruit. The taste is gonna move ya. Take a sniff, pull it out. The taste is gonna move ya when you pop it in your mouth. Juicy fruit is gonna move ya. It juices soft, it gets right to ya. Juicy fruit, the taste is gonna move ya.
Man, for some reason I suddenly have the urge to eat a juicy, chewy, stretchy, fruity, minty, mouth-watering, ambrosial, scrumdiddlyumptious piece of Trident. And before I move on to the next segment, yes, that was the commercial they parodied on Family Guy. Just making sure that some people, or frogs, know before commenting on this video.
Somebody talked! No one is safe! I'm getting out of here! Yeah!
Amusement parks also did commercials like these during the 70s and 80s, showing how much of a fun time people had at the park.
Excite, safari drives a delight,
And one price buys it all.
at a great adventure where you're part of the fun.
So pack up the family and come. You can relax, you can eat.
And see incredible feats,
Have a time you'll never forget.
a place you'll always remember.
Great adventure where you're part of the fun.
Open weekends in April, daily starting May 1st.
Once the 90s rolled around, musical commercials began to die out in favor of being cool and hip. They even began to make jabs at Disney.
Disney's great and worth the time it takes to get there, but maybe you're ready for big theme park fun right now at Six Flags. All bigger than Disneyland. Wherever you are, there's a Six Flags close by.
We all know Disneyland is a great place to visit. But when you're ready for the rides, come to Six Flags Magic Mountain. We're bigger than Disneyland and more exciting than ever. Come to Six Flags Magic Mountain for the ride of your life.
If only they still did that today. The only problem with all these commercials was that they were not connected to represent the Six Flags company. A person watching the commercial wouldn't easily recognize it to be a Six Flags commercial until the very end. It seems that the company had realized this as well, and in 1999, Six Flags began debuting the same type of commercials for each park. However, the commercials seemed to be epileptic.
Discover Six Flags over Texas as a whole new season of magic takes to the sky. 777-530-6000.
Even with the same types of commercials, Six Flags was missing two important aspects. There was no memorable slogan and no mascot. While many Six Flags parks had the tagline, America's Favorite Thrills, it was not unique and able to stand out. To be honest, a Cedar Fair park could have a similar slogan, and it would probably work for them too. Also, every good brand has a mascot. McDonald's has Ronald McDonald, Progressive has Flo, Aunt Jemima has, Aunt Jemima, and more. Six Flags has two licenses, Looney Tunes and DC Comics, aka the brand with good TV shows and bad movies. Well, except for the Dark Knight trilogy. Although they made some appearances in commercials, it was not enough for people to say, hey, let's go to Six Flags. However, that all changed in 2004 on one particular day.
There's a time for work, and there's a time for play. Six Flags, it's playtime.
Saying that this commercial was successful would honestly be an understatement. In a short amount of time, this commercial became one of the most successful and popular ad campaigns of all time. Although the slogan, "It's playtime," was good, the real star of this ad was Mr. Six himself. This weird, bald old man wearing a tux and glasses became the face of the Six Flags company and a new pop culture icon. But how did such an outlandish commercial concept even get created? It turns out the concept is the brainchild of donor advertising. Six Flags hired this company to create the ads. Hank Salemi, Senior Vice President of Marketing for Six Flags, said, "We are trying to figure out why we've been so soft over the past couple of years. People are very overscheduled. It's very difficult for people to plan fun. So much planning has shrunk time, and attending a theme park is a time commitment. He was our way of breaking through the clutter and having people notice our advertising." In the end, people didn't just notice their advertising, but made it into a meme or joke of sorts, from editing or making their own cringy commercials. To including Mr. Six in comedy acts.
Been on a few movies. I was in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban as Tom the Innkeeper. Do I ever get recognised from that? Never. I was finalist in Last Comic Standing. Do I get recognised from it? Never. I appear in one TV commercial.
Mr. Six was even referenced in the Adult Swim show Robot Chicken. Needless to say, Mr. Six was popular. After watching the video though, many had the same question. Who was the old man? Six Flags never identified who Mr. Six really was. Well, it was definitely not the comedian I just showed you. Some thought he looked just like a Hollywood agent named Irving Paul Laser, and another individual who I'm not going to talk about. If you're really interested, look up who Mr. Six looks like on Google. However, this was not the guy. After all, he did die in 1993. Don't people ever read instead of just looking at the pictures? Eventually, the identity was discovered to not be an old man, but a person by the name of Danny Thiessen. He said, "It was fun when friends around me found out that I had a completely secret alter ego as I. It's still fun, and surprising when they do all these years. I actually did one job at the Dallas Park as Mr. Six dancing next to a friend I had known for 20 years, and she had no idea it was me until I told her years later. What is strange though is that he is not known for acting but instead choreography. In fact, he is a choreographer on many Disney Channel shows. These include Girl Meets World, Casey Undercover, Liv and Maddie, Austin and Ally, and Shake It Up, none of which I know because I didn't grow up during that generation. He also choreographed the Three Stooges movie that came out in 2012. Man, does anyone even care about that movie? You know, the one where Mo interacts with Jersey Shore.
How's that one out? That was like my 4th or 5th.
What happened last night?
I like coffee too.
Cool.
Don't forget the dress.
I can't reach it.
Hey, I'm heading out to 7-Eleven. Anyone up for some gummy worms?
With all this other work, Thiessen still thinks that his time as Mr. Six is the most memorable. It was a really special time for me, and I got to have an amazing experience as being a rock star in disguise. He was especially a rock star towards the end of 2005. By this time, Danny Thiessen had made many Six Flags commercials, and his character was featured on park merchandise. Six Flags New England even put his name in the title of a new spinning coaster called Mr. Six's Pandemonium. The bus toured to each one of their parks for people to take a picture with it. However, all good things must come to an end. At the end of the 2005 season, Six Flags was taken over by Daniel Snyder, the owner of the Washington Redskins. One day later, he announced the end of the It's Playtime ad campaign that had taken the world by storm. This also meant the end of Mr. Six in the commercials, although he would still be in park merchandise. Six Flags New England also dropped Mr. Six's name in the title of his roller coaster. At least they didn't put Tony Hawk's name into the ride. But why did Six Flags decide to get rid of Mr. Six? Let's ask Angelina Vieira Barroquez, the Senior Vice President of Marketing at Six Flags.
You know, as Dan Wyden, my former creative director, who I can't say enough of, always says, he would always say, you know, Angie, you want, as a brand, you want your fans and you want consumers and guests to love you. But if they hate you, you'll take that as well, because at least they have a point of view. And you want consumers to have a point of view about you and the brand. And Mr. Six absolutely does that. There are people who love him, and there are people who don't love him quite as much. And we benefit from both.
In other words, people either enjoyed or absolutely hated the commercials, and while it still got the message out about Six Flags, it did not have a positive message which the company wanted overall. Plus, media outlets such as Time magazine even thought he was creepy. Having an old man pull up in front of your house and going into his bus isn't that great of a message to be giving to the children watching your ads. I mean, what would you do in that situation?
Hey, mister, what are you doing here? Are you trying to intimidate the people on this block? If you don't stop this right now, I'm calling the police. That's it. You're going to jail.
Thus, Mr. Six had to return to the retirement home to never dance again. So, what brilliant slogan did the company use that was worth replacing Mr. Six? Six Flags. Friendly, clean, fast, safe service. Wow.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, Tom.
Yes, it's horrible, this idea.
But I couldn't find a single commercial with this new slogan. It doesn't matter that much though, because this campaign didn't last long. The next campaign would be the More Flags, More Fun campaign. Now, unless you were born in the last couple of years, you probably remember seeing these a lot. In the commercials, a boring activity would be shown on the patent pending funnel-meter as having only one or rarely two flags. Then, a coaster, ride, or water slide at a Six Flags park would appropriately have six flags. The commercials would always end with the slogan, "More flags, more fun, Six Flags." I thought when I was younger, and still think today, that this is the best ad campaign since it explained why it was called Six Flags. Of course, then I didn't know the real reason why the name was Six Flags. Let's just say that there were territorial disputes in good old Texas. There was just one big problem that Six Flags needed to fix. The announcer.
One flag! Six Flags! More fun!
Stop raging!
And no, this is not a parody. This was the real announcer at first. While the commercials remained funny and imaginative, the announcer sort of ruined the commercials. Many critics thought that this unnamed Asian man was a racist stereotype. A representative from the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund in New York said, "It's a pretty offensive ad, not only because of the thick accent, but also because someone is screaming at you." It was not long until Six Flags took him out of the commercials. Now, they not only needed a new spokesperson, but someone who could help Six Flags escape from possible bankruptcy. Remember, this was during a time where Six Flags was dropping parks left and right. So, who did the company get? Mr. Six. So why bring him back after leaving him to die back in 2005? And no, this is not a joke. During Fright Fest 2006, as a prank, a dummy representing a dead Mr. Six appeared in the Brutal Planet haunted house at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Let's speak with Angelina Vieira Barroquez again, shall we?
We brought him back this year and incorporated him into our More Flags, More Fun campaign. And the reason we did that is we thought, how do we take our campaign and elevate it? What asset do we have? Is there a tool that we have in our toolbox that we haven't used that we can leverage? And we thought, look, who's really best suited or more suited to rate fun than Mr. Six? And so we brought him back as a rater, and he's in our campaign this year in More Flags, More Fun. He speaks now. He didn't speak in 2004 and 2005, and he has a new job, and so far it's worked out well for him. We also brought him back because we also realized he's a character of ours. He's our own intellectual property. Let's have him at our parks. And so he is now at all of our theme parks, and he dances, and he engages with guests, and he rates fun at our parks as well. I think the strongest brands who have icons are able to constantly evolve those icons and make sure that they're relevant today. And if they're not, then they make a decision. And right now, he's engaging with our guests, and right now, that's his job.
He was back, and here to stay. Every day, he would be in the park as a meet and greet character, although the makeup work wasn't really the best. I still give effort to the person dancing in all that makeup, especially on hot days. Plus, he had his own show called Mr. Six's Dance Party. In the show, the audience along with Mr. Six would dance until the funometer reached 6 flags. Sometimes people would challenge Mr. Six to a dance-off. Even with professional dancers going up against him, Mr. Six still proved to be a worthy foe. Then, on another particular day, in the middle of one of his commercials, a new character was added.
Little Six. Bring out the Little Six in you.
Little Six was introduced and later became Mr. Six's dance partner. Why did Six Flags do this? To be honest, I don't know for sure. It was probably an attempt to also market Six Flags for children too. With all these big coasters and rides surrounding you, it can be hard to remember that Six Flags also must attract children to their parks too. I still feel like they need help with this age demographic, since some of the kids' areas look really bad. It was around the same time that people once again started getting tired of Mr. Six. It had seemed that Six Flags was oversaturating this ad campaign in and out of the park. So finally, after another 2 years of fame, Mr. Six returned to his retirement home for good. While I guess Little Six went back to his regular home. And before people and frogs comment, Mr. Six didn't die. Why do some articles and people claim that he died?
You know, it's amazing. You are 100% wrong. I mean, nothing you've said has been right.
All signs of Mr. Six's existence were removed from the parks and commercials. The only place to find him would be on the internet. His bust, though, has miraculously survived all this time. It can be found inside of Six Flags Great Adventure, but it has the Adventure Alley branding on it. And with that, we are back in the present with the Go Big, Go Six Flags ad campaign. Sure, these ads are interesting to say the least, but I feel that they still miss something special that made the commercials from the 2000s much better. Mr. Six. I thought he was the perfect icon for the parks that no one else could replicate, not even Cedar Fair. Six Flags could have gone bankrupt during this time, but instead people went for him. How do I know this? Because one of those people were me. I grew up during the heyday of these commercials, and without these ads I probably wouldn't have wanted to go to the parks or even become a coaster enthusiast. When my family did go though, I always wanted to look for Mr. Six. Hopefully many others felt this way about him too. But hope is not lost. Some believe that he will return one day. Six Flags has certainly not forgotten about him. In the new for 2017 Six Flags announcement video, you know, the one with John Duffy, he compares himself to looking like Mr. Six.
So let me be perfectly clear. I am not Lex Luthor. So don't go blaming me when civilization is destroyed. And I am not Mr. Six. So don't ask me to dance.
This was the first mention of him from the company in 6 years. Get it, 6. But who knows? Maybe if he was CEO long enough, Mr. Six would have returned. We'll just have to wait and see what Jim Reed Anderson does. And maybe someday, people will once again have that dang song stuck in their head.
golden kingdom has been discovered at Six Flags Great Adventure. A land of mystery, a land of intrigue, and rising above it all, the tallest, fastest roller coaster on Earth, King Dakar. You will hit 128 miles per hour and soar 456 feet in the air. It's a whole new great adventure.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this brief history video. If you liked this video, please make sure to give it a like. If you really liked it, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!